Today we are talking with my good friend Matt LaMarche out of Atlanta, Georgia, talking about his YouTube success that he's had in 2022, starting out working with us through the course and with our editing team, and how he was able to produce over $3.5 million in closed business from the channel and only producing one video a week. And typically we recommend more than that, but he was doing this on two different channels, one video a week in two different markets. Imagine that. But it accounted for half of his business in 2022, which is tremendous. And that's what I encourage people to ask that question to themselves all the time, which is what would be worth it for you to have a YouTube channel? How much business? Would it be one transaction a month, one transaction every other month? Would it be doing half the business? Think about it. If you produced 7 million in 1 year and half of that came through YouTube, would it be worth it to make videos? But Matt's got an amazing story. He's super cool, and I can't wait to share with you his story and how he was successful on YouTube in 2022 and why he's planning to go all in on YouTube in 2023. My name is Levi Lascsak with Passive Prospecting. We help agents build out their own passive prospecting YouTube channels all across the country and all across the world. Actually, we were working with people in several countries, which is amazing. And we teach agents how to do this, and it's changing their lives and their business, and we love it. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into it. All right, so we are here with my good friend Matt LaMarche from Atlanta, Georgia, the Porsche real estate agent, right? Is that your tagline?
I mean, if they would allow me to use that trademark and register, that'd be wonderful. But both the National Association of Realtors and Porsche, I think we're going to take exception to that. So, but I'll take it, just informally between me and you. Yeah, I'll absolutely accept that title.
Hey, you never know. You could change your name. I know of an agent in Nevada, actually, and he in Nevada, there's a state law that says you can't have Nevada in your team name, because he wanted like Nevada home selling team, and they said you can only have like your actual name. So he legally changed his last name to Nevada. So
it's amazing.
So hey man, you could become Matt Porsche. And
that guy is committed. That is for sure. I love that level of commitment.
Straight committed. So yeah, well, thanks for joining me today. I want to say, Matt, I got the opportunity to meet Matt initially on Clubhouse, and it's funny. And then we got to meet in person at the Atlanta event. It was Recreate Summit, which I believe was August of 2021.
That's right.
Was when we first met in person, but we had met a couple of months earlier on Clubhouse. And we were just talking the other day in a group about the impact of Clubhouse. And that was just, a story I shared, which was really, I mean, so much opportunity has come for me through Clubhouse. I know you've started up a nationwide referral network, right?
Absolutely.
From there. And so I'm just curious. So tell everyone a little bit about your background, how long you've been in real estate, kind of what's going on in Atlanta, and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I think for me, like a very young age, I knew I was an entrepreneur, and then I just kind of suppressed it for a while and went back to corporate America because my first official business, like LLC, failed pretty miserably. And as an entrepreneur, you want to be successful. You work really, really hard, and you try a lot of things. There's a lot of risk reward. I'm a big golfer, and the more risk there is, the more reward there is, and the less risk there is, the less reward there is. But for me, that early sucker punch from the market in my first business was tough, and it really hurt. As a man, as an entrepreneur, as eventually a husband, and now a father, I can look back and say, thank God it happened the way that it did. Because if I hadn't experienced that failure for myself, I heard about failure growing up in business, and I just didn't think anything of it. Well, when it's you getting punched in the face, at least for me, it was a very real experience. And so I suffered with some real self-esteem issues and confidence issues for a little while there about becoming an entrepreneur again. And is this really for me, or is it not for me? But anyway, fast forward about 12 years after, a sales and marketing career, in my, mid 20s and into my mid 30s, started up another entrepreneurial venture, eventually sold it and got into real estate in 2019. So now I've been in for a little over 4 years. But for me, especially with YouTube, with social media, I've always loved social media. You and I talk a lot about, kind of that love-hate relationship that we grew up with it. It was just like kind of in our DNA, but it has changed pretty dramatically in the time that, I've been using it in 20 years now. And, if anything, I think it's actually gotten better. Like, I think we get a lot more transparency, a lot more honesty. Our clients, especially through YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Clubhouse, even now appreciate that, if you're good in person, you're going to be good on video. You just have to figure out how to clearly communicate things on video. And so YouTube has been amazing for us. I mean, last year alone, we really, went after YouTube. After meeting with you in August, as you mentioned, and then listening to your success with it, but also others' success with it. That, I'm more of a lifestyle agent, that I don't want to be the number one agent in Atlanta as far as production goes. I love the life that I get to lead and the balance that I have. I get to travel with my wife and my kids and, with our associations and stuff and with business, but I also get a really good work-life balance. And having come from a business where I had none of that, it's, as I get into my 40s, really, really appreciate that balance. And that's striking that balance is really hard for entrepreneurs because we always want more. We always want to improve. And I think there's a very fine line between workaholics and pushing too much and finding this balance of work and play in life. So, but we're still learning and we're always adjusting. As the market moves, we have to move with it. So.
Yeah. And for those that aren't familiar with the reference, that love-hate relationship with social media is for us 40-year-olds and above. Wait a second. You're not 40 yet? Are you not 40?
I just turned 40 in August. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations. Welcome to the club, buddy. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, I feel it down in my lower back here.
Yeah.
And in the
it's all downhill from there.
That's right. That's right.
So actually I'm feeling better than in my 30s, but it's funny. Yeah. That love-hate relationship, I say, because if you're at that 40-year-old age range and above, we didn't grow up with it. It wasn't there in high school. Probably wasn't there in college. If you went to college right after high school, it was probably coming around in your late 20s and early 30s. And you were probably established in a career or starting something out, and you just kind of poo-pooed it, right? You were kind of like, okay, at least a lot of people. I mean, I had some people my age that embraced it immediately, but I was kind of one of those people that was old school, and that's probably part of my upbringing as well with the parents, being old school. They hate technology change. Still live in the same house, from 45 years. And that was it. And so I poo-pooed it. Of course, I opened an account just because I got pressured into doing it. And I just never applied anything to it because I thought, it's just people bragging and posting their lunch and silly cat videos. And until the 20s and 30-year-olds start making more money than us, right? And then we're going, oh crap. Let's yeah. Damn it, I can't let that 20-year-old beat me. Come on, I gotta figure something out. Yeah. And then you look at it from a producer side versus a consumer side, and you're like, oh wow, these platforms are actually very powerful. So I know you've had some success on the other platforms, but of course we like to talk YouTube in here. And so can you walk us through a little bit of your YouTube journey this last year? I know you had a channel initially, right? It was more of a personal brand channel. And I think then you broke off to have two channels focused mainly on your Atlanta market and your Hilton Head market. Is that correct? Is that how that worked out?
Exactly. Yeah. And, I had done enough with YouTube that I understood some of the algorithmic stuff. Certainly I wasn't optimizing videos and really using it to do anything other than like document my day, where my business was, what I was up to, because, and this is going to sound ridiculous to a lot of the people that may watch this, but when you're focused on the money comes. When you're focused on legacy, the legacy will eventually come. And that for me was really where it all started. I did not intend on making money from YouTube. Not that I didn't want it to happen, but that wasn't my focus. My focus was I'd lost both my grandfathers in the past couple of years and felt like I was kind of missing something from those relationships. And I had great relationships with them, but when you lose someone that's really close to you, it makes you question a lot of things, and it makes you miss a lot of things about them. And I thought, man, wouldn't it be cool to be able to hop on YouTube and go, back on my grandfather's channel about business in the 80s, or what they were into in the 90s, and the cars they drove and the houses they lived in, and the business opportunities that were presented to them. Both of them were very entrepreneurial, so that seemed like a no-brainer that if this technology existed 40 years ago, they would have done that stuff. And so, when I lost both of them within about a year of each other, I got really introspective about like legacy and what do I leave behind for my kids and grandkids and everything else. And certainly money is a part of that, and the financial legacy that I leave behind. But to me, there's stories, and there's messages, and there's work ethic, and like you mentioned, from your parents, a lot of your upbringing that may never get communicated to the future generations. And so I wanted something that I could pass along. And so that's kind of where my YouTube journey started. And so it was documenting my day, it was documenting my business and what was working and what wasn't working. And, for those of you that have been around social media for a number of years, I used to take Snapchat stories every day, like I do Instagram now. And I would save 2 and 3 and 5 and 10-minute long videos in the worst possible vertical video, which is now, of course, come back around. And I would save those to my camera roll, and then I would upload them to YouTube. And that was how I documented my day and my business and what I was working on and what I was challenged with. And so, yeah, if you go back and look at the old videos, they're all of that vertical, terrible camera, terrible sound, terrible lighting. But I felt like that I owed that to my kind of future lineage here, if you will. And so last year we got really serious, and after talking with you and getting around the team members that you guys have and understanding the systems around it, because to me, without a system, without paying into something, without having something to lose, again, that risk reward, it's a big risk, but there could also be big rewards. And with little risk, there were little rewards. And so I was putting in a little bit of effort. I wasn't really seeing anything come from it. Occasionally I would get a lead from it, or have a conversation with someone about real estate or entrepreneurship or whatever, but I couldn't point to business and go, here's where that lead came from, and that lead turned into this. But that all changed last year when I got very focused on the editing and the production of the content itself. And you're right, we have a personal channel. I have like a vlog channel, more or less, where we document the Porsche stuff and, a little bit of the family stuff, my projects around our house and stuff like that, and what's kind of happening around Atlanta. And then we have an Atlanta focused channel for real estate that people that are moving to Atlanta, find us through that avenue. And even just last year on that channel, I think we did like $2.2 million in business, which was like 3 transactions just here in Atlanta. And then you mentioned Hilton Head. I also am licensed in South Carolina. We have a channel for that as well. And that focuses on the low country of South Carolina, but we did another $1.2 million from that channel as well. And I'm not even full-time there. I don't spend all of my time in one or the other. More of my time is spent in Atlanta, but we sent a ton of referrals down to Hilton Head as well. And, that's not even included in what we did. So it's been amazing to see how we can use these platforms. And I do track specific to each platform where leads are coming from, how they're converting, how well they're converting. And, we talk about this all the time as far as YouTube. The video is so powerful that you give everything you've got, and now it's up to them to take action. You've done all you can do, and then you literally just wait for the phone to ring. And for us, that was, 50 days, 58 days in, I think, from that first lead. And it's crazy because like that next week, 3 others came in, and it's been amazing. And even though I haven't been as consistent as I wanted to last year, still saw results, and it still worked. So I've been super happy with the results from it. And your team is amazing, and we're still learning how to work with each other, how to make my content better so that it attracts more people and, converts better. So, but that's business. That's always, we're always trying to improve.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's great to hear. So, and that was one video per week on each channel, right? Is what you were doing?
Yeah. And there were a couple of weeks that we missed, here and there. And, we talk about batching and time management and productivity and everything. And, super transparently, I got busy, and there was, a month there where I think we posted one video, and, I was committed to it. I was paying for it. It was, I was trying to make it a part of my daily and weekly routine, but it is super hard. And when you're an individual agent, you try to, outsource anything and everything you can. Man, when you get 5 contracts and you got 3 listings and 2 buyers in it's a lot. But we still saw great results. And to me, going through my business planning for 2023, I was like, we really have to focus on this. Like, we have to make this a priority. Other things will have to fall by the wayside, and we will have to focus on this completely, so that 1 video a week is the target now.
Were those clients very easy to work with?
God, man, I tell you, the first one that reached out, like, I thought it was a joke, honestly, at first, because like the email was like half a page. Like, if you printed it out, it would have been half of the 8.5 by 11. And I got like 3 lines in. I'm like, okay, someone's pranking me. This is a joke. Where's the hidden camera? Because I was like, he told me his budget. He told me the area he wanted to be in. He told me the square footage. I mean, he sent me a couple links to homes he had already looked at. It was like the buyer consultation was done. And to me, that was really powerful, because they lived in Texas, actually, and they were moving here for work. And they already had their house under contract, and they were literally just waiting for that to clear due diligence and get here to start making some moves on things. And it's night and day, man. Night and day difference. About a typical buyer consultation, even from a referral where they don't know me as well. I mean, this guy, it was like we were old buddies. Yep. It was amazing.
I know that's I show those whenever I get speaking opportunities, I show screenshots of the emails and texts we get, and they're pages. I mean, there'll be so much information. It tells you everything. I've had one person email me their complete financial history and accounts and all kinds of. I was like, don't send that to me on my Gmail account, or my Yahoo account. I mean, it was a lot. Told me everything, all their assets, and so it's just interesting. That's how comfortable they feel with you. I mean, they come to you, just as you said, with their relationship already established and ready to go. So yeah, and what about creating content for a market that you're not even in? How does that work? I mean, are you visiting there periodically to make content, or are you making content from Atlanta and just saying, hey, I'm here in Hilton Head, or how does that work? Are you teleporting, or how far is that anyways? How far do you drive there, or what's the proximity?
Yeah. So the short answer is yes, a little bit of both. So some of it is created here in Atlanta. Some is created actually on the island, because obviously you can't replace
of course,
some of the content down there. And if we're doing a house tour or something like that, I have to physically be in the house, right? But more often than not, it's created from here. So if we were looking at percentages, it's going to be a little heavier in Atlanta, but creating content there. So it's 4.5 hours with some traffic from Atlanta to Hilton Head. We started vacationing there probably 40 years ago. My grandparents started, and then they eventually moved down there and had a house down there. We used to spend summers. And
hold on a second, 40. How do you remember that?
How do I remember?
Yeah, you just turned 40.
As soon as I was born, they were like, we're going to the beach. No,
they just told you that.
That's so, right.
Okay.
That's remember. Well, no, I do remember though very vividly. Probably I was like 5, 6 years old. Us being at the beach, like I have earlier memory, because I love the beach. Yeah. We love being there. That place has always kind of held a special place in our heart. And then we got married, and I took my wife there, and she fell in love with it. And then we started going for a week every year. And now her parents have a place there that they live most of their time there. And then they also have a rental property for short-term rentals and stuff. But we love being down there. We ultimately want to retire down there, whether that's full-time or semi-retirement. We'll figure that part out. But yeah, it's interesting, and it's definitely got its own challenges. But I would say, I network with a lot of dual agent markets, and they have one in Texas and they have one in Tennessee. And, it is challenging, and it has its own challenges, not just because you're working in 2 different markets and there's different paperwork and there's different MLSs and different states, or, whatever, different countries. So there's already these challenges that exist. But with content, the great thing about it is that you don't have to be there. For me, I can do a lot more of it here, and we can talk about houses in Hilton Head from Sandy Springs, Georgia, or Atlanta, Georgia. And it's just as valuable. Like the knowledge that we have about that area and about the history of the island itself is what people want to hear about. I don't have to be on the island to tell you about the history. And I think now more than ever, people want that more than they want to see you out in front of a palm tree on the beach. Certainly that's powerful and it definitely translates, but it's got its own challenges, but we make it work. We go there about 5 or 6 times a year, and sometimes that's for a couple of days, sometimes for a week or two. But while I'm down there, all I'm thinking is content, because I know I got to have B-roll and I've got to have homes and curb appeal and landscaping and, all the stuff that makes up our videos. Just so I do at least have the content.
So how does that work, Matt? Oh, hey, babe, we're going on vacation. By the way, I'm going to take the first week and film.
Right.
I got to make 20 videos real quick.
It depends on the time of the year. Sometimes it goes over a little bit better than others. But, again, full transparency, like we got a lead probably November, I think we were going down there. And I think it was the 3rd week of November, actually, because I still have the text message saved. But and this is a long shot. Like, you can't guarantee any results or anything that's going to happen. But I had a guy send me an email and he said, look, I just bought a $7.5 million house on the island. And they left the furniture. We're thinking about making it like a compound type thing. We really want to take this property and make it something even better than it already is. And we'd love to have you come by, take a look at the house, and make some recommendations on what we can do for this compound that we want to build. And the short-term rental stuff is a piece of that, but it's also a long-term investment. And I don't know about you guys, but it's not every day someone with a $7.5 million house calls you and wants your professional opinion on things. So regardless of whether it ever brought business, just the connections and the proximity that you have through creating this type of content is, you're a shining example of that. Like the people you've been able to connect with and, be able to have conversations with over the last 2 years, I'm sure is just, sometimes you sit back and go, is this real life?
Yeah. Well, not just from the clients. From the, other content creators and things like that. It's funny, but the most expensive deal was $9 million that we got a call from the channel. Now, I think that person was a complete fraud, but we did show them a $9 million house and we did put it under contract. And then whenever it came to him paying the earnest money, which was only $90,000, I thought was a steal to put for earnest money on a $9 million home. He completely weirded it out, started griping and complaining. And then you look a little closer at the proof of funds and it was kind of like, there's a couple of lines that are not lining up correctly on there. And then it was like, what's the whole point of this? And then he completely ghosted us. So, it is what it is. Well, actually, no, I do take that back. Early on, we did get a $10 million, a person with a $10 million budget. And I remember that was one of the first calls. You want to talk about, I had no clue. I was like, how am I going to make myself look smart for this person? And what was funny is that they did send us proof of funds. That was legit. And we went through quite a bit with them, did some virtual tours. They were coming from South Korea. And, but they said they went under they called one agent before us about a custom built home that really caught their eye, but they said they weren't interested in that. And so they called us and went through the whole process for like 2 to 3 weeks and had a deal that they were probably going to contract on. And then all of a sudden they're like, you know what, we went back and kind of looked at that other house and we decided it's going to be a better fit for us. And so, we felt we owed that one agent that we originally reached out to do the deal with them. I was like, no. I was like, how about a referral fee? I get a referral fee on a $10 million house, but so it is what it is. But still, it's interesting. Let me ask you this then. Doing one video a week on 2 different channels, like doing 2 videos a week, did $3.5 million, right? Total. So was that worth it?
I think so. I'm super analytical, and I sometimes get in my own way when it comes to this stuff. And when you look at the time that you could spend doing other things, for me, I enjoy doing videos. So it's a very easy fit. I know that's not for everyone, but I think when you get outside your comfort zone a little bit, because this truly is outside my comfort zone, like as much as I love doing video, adapting that message for a different audience and a different goal ultimately is really important. And so you can love a piece of it and really not understand the most important part of it. And so for me, that's been a challenge, just to be frank. I mean, it's hard to relearn something, especially when, you start out doing it one way and then having to learn a different way. But yeah, I mean, that was like almost half of my business this year was just YouTube. And so it's really, really powerful. And it's really, to me, and this is one thing that we talk so much about, but I really don't think people understand the value of your time when you're new to this business is basically zero. Like if you close one deal in your first year because you aren't hustling your face off trying to make deals happen, your time is free. And if you aren't creating content that will literally live on for years and possibly bring you leads for years, if I could go back and start over 4 years ago, and this was January 2019, I mean, that's all I would be doing is out viewing property, making content, because now, here 4 years later, I would have hundreds of videos out working for me. And that to me is the missed opportunity for me. And so if someone's just looking at starting, that's where you start. You get uncomfortable, you make yourself do things that you normally wouldn't do for people that have been there and kind of done that and didn't put that effort in and don't have the results to show for it, because you're going to be so much further along. I personally think.
Yeah. Well, hey man, the years go by quickly these days, especially when you're 40. So in a couple more years, you're going to be like, I'm glad I started when I started.
Exactly.
And that's a message I always have for everybody, because there was people at that Recreate Summit, that also said they were going to start a channel and haven't yet. And then they came to the next event and they said, I'm going to start a channel, and they haven't yet. And they'll be at the next event. And, the thing is that I say, look, in 6 months, you're going to say one of two things. I'm glad I did, or I wish I had. I mean, that's it. And so, yes, I mean, we can say, I hear you, man. I wish I would have started in real estate a little bit sooner on YouTube and everything else. But the reality is I don't know. I probably wouldn't have started out on video, if I started 2 or 3 or 4 years earlier, because I just without going through the hardships I went through. I think that's what really made me dig deep before starting into real estate. Well, I know it made me dig deep to understand I needed a different strategy. And I'd been in sales for 20 plus years and was really tired of prospecting. So I was like, all right. And then, and real estate is notorious for never ending prospecting. Right. And even if it's your sphere, I mean, they say, well, look, I've never, well, if you're shaking hands and kissing babies, I mean, that is prospecting. It may be a little more subtle, but ultimately you've got to show face. You got to get out there and yeah, this opportunity through video on YouTube is a game changer. And I'm super excited to hear your success on it. And I think, I know you can do more. Do you plan to increase videos on each channel, or are you going to stick with one per week?
Yeah. So, again, when I go through business planning, I'm looking and measuring and trying to figure out not just what happened, but also what do we do with this information now? Like, where do we go from here? Yep. And for me, there's 3 places where my business come from. It's social media. So all of the platforms in some form or fashion, right? And, we talked a lot about YouTube, but like with Instagram, it's just a different strategy. It's a lot more long tail, that the content that I put out today may pop a month from now, a year from now, just like YouTube in that way, I guess. But I'm establishing relationships, I'm building rapport with people on that platform, and it's daily. I started out with a brokerage that said you need this many touches, and I was like, I'm gonna 10x that. Like, I'm gonna do 365 touches, because I can have them in my DMs every day of the year, and there's absolutely nothing holding me back from that. But sphere of influence is another. So I get a lot of database and referrals from agents and stuff. And then the final is in-person networking. I love to be belly to belly. Obviously, that's been a challenge over the last couple of years, but now as things have opened back up completely and networking events are happening, and my car drives and sporting event, I mean, just anywhere and everywhere is an in-person networking event, if you think about it that way. So, but for me, looking forward, yeah, I have put a lot more time on my calendar for content, on all the platforms, specifically YouTube, so that I can hit that once a week mark, because to me, it is that important. And even if I could double this year what I did strictly from YouTube, that's a huge deal to my business. And again, as an individual agent with a transaction coordinator and your team in place and admin and everything else, that we got going on, to increase my business that much in that area would be a massive success. So I'm excited, and yeah, we're going to try to keep it at one a week for now. But as we grow our team a little bit, as we grow our office here a little more, I think we're going to start to see some new faces come into the fold, and some changes to the channel, but all for the good of everyone involved. So I'm sure at some point we're going to be doing daily videos, though. It's just a matter of time.
Well, I mean, I would, if I may, I'd make a recommendation, and maybe you schedule, going live on your channel once a week. That way you have a curated piece of content going out once a week on the Atlanta channel, because I do believe Atlanta is probably your bigger opportunity with growth. And so you have your curated video that you put out once a week, but then do a live, because you don't really need to prep. You don't need to edit, it doesn't cost you anything. You just press record, and that's where you could talk about market updates, which right now, this time frame, week to week market updates, I think, are very relevant, because it seems like the market is changing every single week. So I think you've got an opportunity there. And if you pick the same time each week, and usually on a weeknight, maybe on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night or a Monday night, if you've got one of those openings, I think that'd be very powerful. It'd be an easy way to throw an additional piece of content on there. And then also, something that has been very successful for us, and I know you've got a large referral network across the US, is do some Atlanta versus California, Atlanta versus Dallas. I mean, if you want to, I would be happy to come on your channel if you want to do a live, and then you could do Atlanta versus New York, get some of your New York referrals. And then you're starting to attract, a lot of those out of state areas, because with those keywords and doing a live and having somebody from that area talk about how terrible it is because of taxes and restrictions and everything else, right? It just makes you look that much better. So that would be an easy way, I believe, if you have a one night per week that you could jump on there for 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes. I think what you'll find is, especially with yourself, you'll end up talking for an hour. Maybe you need to, but I think way for you to increase your content, really cost you anything except for that, and get you in there. So just a recommendation.
No, I appreciate it. And like, I'm always trying to learn and adapt things, because we all have the same 24 hours, right? And between family and work and play and hobbies and everything else, like you wake up and a year's gone by, and it's like, man, if only. And just like you said earlier, the 6 months, like, that to me is the biggest opportunity. And to me, that advice coming from you is really powerful, because you understand the platform a lot better than I do, and things that I don't know. And I have gotten a lot wiser in my 40s, especially now that I understand listening to people and having success through other people is a lot more powerful. So I appreciate that, and I'll receive that for sure.
Thank you. So how can people connect with you? What's your preferred method?
Yeah. I mean, you just Google me, you'll find me that way. But my favorite platform for daily, like, if you want to stay up to date to the day, is Instagram, and we post daily stories there. Sometimes they're just 1 minute long or 30 seconds long, and that's all we do, because now we are focused on YouTube on a weekly basis. But Instagram is at Matt.Lamarsh, Lamarsh, just like it sounds.
There you go. Awesome. And we'll put a connection in the description below for you as well. And we appreciate you, Matt, so much. And it's funny, I made the mistake of sending you one Porsche video, and so now I get a ton of Porsche videos in my feed. You know, that's
It's
what we
the
always
best
say.
plan.
I know
It's
that's
the best plan.
well, that's what we tell people. You just need to get one of your videos watched, and guess what? YouTube or Instagram, they're going to feed the rest of your videos on there. But
That's right.
it's
That's right.
cool. I have grown my appreciation for Porsche since meeting you. So
Good, good.
I was
That's
always
what I asked for.
yeah, I've always been more of a Lambo guy, you know, ever
Mm.
since like the 80s. You know, I had the old Lamborghini Countach
I get it.
posters that you could find at Walmart, you know, on the cardboard. And since I was like a kid, and I always thought, man, that's a cool car. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get around to getting one, just from the fact that I'm kind of like, I don't know, super cool. But
Once you come back through Atlanta, we'll take you down to the Experience Center, and that will change everything you thought you knew about cars in
there you
general.
go.
Yeah.
I'm down. I'm down. All right. Well, it was great to see you, Matt, as always. Appreciate you. And then yeah, we'll get your links below so people can connect with Matt out of Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you much. Have a great day.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for having me.